My Weirder-est School, Book Number 10. Mr. Ott is a Crackpot. Written by Dan Gutman. Pictures by Jim Pelot. Chapter 1. Dunch and Dinch. My name is AJ, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about eating. I know because that's what I'm thinking about. My friend Ryan thinks about eating all the time. He'll eat anything, even stuff that isn't food. One time, he ate a piece of the seat cushion on the school bus. The other day, we were in the vomitorium talking about our favorite meal of the day. My favorite meal is breakfast. Ryan said his favorite meal is brunch. Brunch isn't a real meal, I told him. It's just breakfast and lunch at the same time. In my family, we call that lunfast, said Michael, who never ties his shoes. It's lunch and breakfast together. Your family is weird, I told Michael. Our family likes to combine lunch and dinner, said Alexia, this girl who rides a skateboard all the time. We call it linner. That's not linner, said Neil, who we call the nude kid even though he wears clothes. In my family, lunch and dinner together is lupper. That's lunner, said Michael. Do you know what my family calls lunch and dinner? Asked Ryan. Dunch. We call lunch and dinner dinch, said Michael. What? I said. Dunch and dinch aren't words. They are too, are not. Dunch and dinch are definitely not words. You should look them up in a dictionary. I bet they're not there. Sometimes my family has breakfast for dinner, said Andrea, this annoying girl with curly brown hair. We call it brinner. I agree with Andrea, said her crybaby friend Emily, who always agrees with Andrea. Breakfast for dinner? What's up with that? I could see eating breakfast for lunch, or lunch for breakfast. I could see eating lunch for dinner or dinner for lunch. But eating breakfast for dinner? If you ask me, that should be illegal. Meals should stay in their own lane. Food is weird. Chapter 2. Balk, balk, balk. You probably think this book will be about food. Well, you're wrong. It has nothing to do with food. Why do books have to start out with stuff that relates to the rest of the book? Who made up that dumb rule? Anyway, after lunch, we went back to class with Mr. Cooper. Turn to page 23 in your math books, he told us. Ugh, I hate math. That's when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. An announcement came over the loudspeaker. Well, that's not the weird part. Announcements come over the loudspeaker all the time. The weird part was what happened next. Mr. Cooper, please turn on your smart board, announced Mrs. Patty, our school secretary. Mr. Cooper turned on the smart board, and you'll never believe in 1,100,000 years whose face appeared on the screen. It was Morgan Brocklebank. Boo! Everybody started booing. Morgan Brocklebank is this mean girl who goes to Dirk School on the other side of town. We call it Dork School. Morgan does the Dirk morning announcements every day. Well, hello, elementary school losers, said Morgan. Morgan has hated us ever since her methane-powered car, the Dirk Mobile, exploded and we won the brain games. The whole place smelled like cow farts. You can read about it in a book called Miss Brown is Upside Down. "What can we do for you, Miss Brocklebank?" asked Mr. Cooper. "I have a challenge for you," Morgan replied. "We accept," I shouted. Mr. Cooper held up his hand and shushed me. "Hold on, AJ," he said. "You don't even know what she's challenging us to do yet." "Our class challenges your class to a softball game," said Morgan, "to raise money for charity." "Softball?" whispered Alexia. "I've never played softball." "Me neither," whispered Neil. "I take pitching lessons after school," bragged Andrea. "Ugh, Andrea takes lessons in everything after school. If they gave lessons in cleaning out your earwax, she would take those lessons so she could get better at it. What is her problem?" "What charity are you raising money for?" asked Mr. Cooper. "We're fighting a serious disease," replied Morgan Brocklebank. "Freckles." "What? Since when are freckles a disease?" asked Ryan. "I have freckles," said Andrea. "Me too," said Emily, who has everything Andrea has. "Me three," said Michael. "Oh no!" shouted Ryan. "We're all gonna die from freckles." "Run for your lives!" shouted Neil. "We've got to do something," said Emily, and then she went running out of the room. "That's ridiculous. Lots of people have freckles. There's nothing wrong with freckles." "That's a dumb charity," Neil shouted at the smart board. "Go find another class to challenge." Up on the screen, Morgan sneered. "Oh, I guess you're afraid to play us," she said. "I guess you're a bunch of scaredy cats and chickens. Balk, balk, balk." Morgan Brocklebank does a terrible chicken imitation. "Hey, nobody calls us chickens," said Michael. "That's right," I said. "We're not gonna take that. We have to play them." "Let's beat those dark dorks," shouted Ryan. Yeah. In case you were wondering, everybody was shouting yeah. "Well, it looks like my class accepts your challenge," said Mr. Cooper. "Good," said Morgan. "Next Saturday, in the field behind our school. Be there or be square. And I still say you're chickens. Balk, balk, balk."